Two. So I'm sorry. Oh no. Oh no. That was a first. That was a first. You see, I was getting a text. Just when I was getting started. I went to do the 222 thing. Let's just forget that ever happened. Doesn't look like there was anyone even there to even notice that little flub. Good, I don't care. I don't care that there's no one here. See if I care. You think I don't want to just hang out here by myself all day? I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to. Get some peace and quiet around here for once. Oh no, chat's not here to constantly mock me and bully me. Oh no, whatever will I do? Whatever am I going to do? Anyway, hello folks. So obviously I talked a little bit yesterday about my interest, my desire, whatever you want to call it, my idea that going forward, getting into season 4, I will be starting the show at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I started around 11:30 yesterday. It was a pretty decent start. I started at 11:30, and then obviously that's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a work in progress for me to get to that point. I do think that I can get there. I just have to get used to it. It's going to take me a little while to get used to it, all right? I mean, the thing is, I got sidetracked. I just have to learn how to fit everything that I need to do into my morning, knowing that time is coming up. I got caught up in. I've been promising new sub badges. We're getting really close to season 4. A number of chatters are starting to get close to the extremely exclusive 3-year sub badge. A handful of the finest chatters are getting very close to this 3-year badge, and I've been talking about ensuring that there's a 3-year badge in place for when that time comes. So I got a little sidetracked this morning, making sure that was in place. So I'm not sure I'm sure there's a way for me to check. I'm not sure who's the longest tenured chatter or subscriber, but I saw, I think Netlocked yesterday is at 34. There's a couple of you out there that are very close to the 36 month 3-year TRRS sub badge. There's a number of chatters that are getting pretty close. So I wanted to make sure that was in place. All you do is care about the people. Hats off to you. Thank you, Mike. That's right. That's absolutely correct. I got sidetracked ensuring that chatters, the most beloved chatters, the most longest tenured chatters, are going to be properly recognized with a 3-year sub badge. It is a lot of months. I agree. It is actually insane to me that it has been 3 years since I started doing this program. I mean, I guess I started Twitch streaming, trying it out in around 2019. Maybe I might have even done a few in 2018. I can't quite recall, but
this is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Benny Chatters. Hello, Benny. Thank you for the raid. Thank you, Benny. Thank you, Benny Chatters. Hello, welcome in. What's up? How's it going? It's me, Rob. It's nice to see you. You know, one thing I'll say about Benny. Benny, as a Twitch streamer, brings a lot of things to the table. She brings a lot of things to the table. The political analysis, the good and correct foreign policy opinions. I think the one thing about Benny, though, is that Benny is she's possibly the gayest person on this entire platform of Twitch. And listen, there's a lot of Twitch streams out there. There's a lot of Twitch streamers. But I think Benny is quite possibly one of the gayest ones. And that's something that is an incredible accomplishment. It really is something. Hey Rob, curious what you think about the Online News Act. I don't want to simp for big tech, but I can't help be cynical about the intents of the government. Well, Brando, you can find it in the highlights if you look on my page, but a few weeks ago, I talked with Paris Marks of the Tech Won't Save Us podcast. One of the very best kind of tech reporters, journalists out there. And we had a long conversation about it. So I think two things can be true. These big tech companies are media publishers and need to be treated and regulated as such. That's the number one truth here. The number two truth is that our government is not interested in promoting a wide variety of viewpoints or ensuring that small publishers are able to be successful. In fact, our government and our state is very invested in ensuring that certain viewpoints are not ever publicized or published. So both of these things can be true at once. I don't think you need to stand on one side or the other of that. I do think it's important for governments everywhere to go after these tech companies when it comes to the huge amount of power they have in publishing news and shaping public opinion, and the way that they've really destroyed a lot of local news or played a large role in that. But we don't need to pretend that our government is doing it for these altruistic reasons either, and that our government is not also deeply invested in wanting to suppress certain independent viewpoints and certain schools of thought. But I would recommend that you checked out that interview with Paris Marks. Let me see if I can find it. I think people are going to be pretty happy with this 3-year sub badge when it finally emerges. I think you're going to be pretty happy, folks. Let me just see here. I'm going to go ahead and find that interview with Paris Marks, because if you're really interested in exploring this topic, it is right. Sorry. I post it in the chat. That's not it. That was my Wordle score. I'm posting my Wordle score in the chat. What's going on there? What is happening there? Here is the conversation with Paris Marks. I just posted in the chat. It was a couple weeks ago, July 3rd, 2023. Fantastic conversation. Always love talking to Paris Marks about these subjects. They had a really excellent analysis of all this. So I think, besides what I just said, I think you will find even more answers to your question in that. I will say, as it pertains to the sub badges as well, I think we're probably, I don't know about the 4-year. I think the next milestone after 3 is 5. We'll see. Of course, we will see. Maybe next year at this time I can be swayed, but I think that's the next milestone. Really hard to believe, isn't it, folks? Then you set the next one at 10. I guess so. I guess so. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. When we start talking about 10-year sub badges, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. When I'm going to be 47 years old. Do you understand that? Do you understand that when there's a 10-year sub badge, I'm going to be sitting here on twitch.tv and I'm going to be 47 years old? Is anyone ready for that? Am I ready for that? I don't know. I don't know. I can't guarantee you that I am, frankly. I strongly feel every year deserves its own sub badge, and when you run out of colors, just put in stripes. Well, we'll cross that bridge when you come to it. How about that? Next year at this time, I'll make a decision on this. Lock it in. 1 year from right now, I'll make a decision on it. Very hard to believe, though. 3 years of TRRS. Who'da thunk it? Who'da thunk it? It would be cool to have covered the 2020 election right here on this program, and you know what? We're going to cover the goddamn 2024 election as well. We're going to have live coverage. There'll be 2 elections, and I'm going to be covering the DNC and the RNC. We're going to do some shit there as well. This is a real journalism enterprise here, folks. This isn't just fun and games. I'm really covering... we're experiencing history together on this show. I remember the exact day when the first time I tuned into this stream. It's really insane. And I told you, I am going to do some kind of retrospective clip show. There's so many clips. Here's from 3 years ago. One sec. Just adjust my stuff here. This is from the first official episode of the new version of the show. Hey everyone, Rob the Blob here. Okay. Hey everyone. And as you can see, it's all been downhill from there. It's all been down. We're still now to this very day. To this very day, we have Chad mocking and humiliating me on a daily basis. A lot of things have changed, but one thing has remained constant. One thing has stayed the same, which is Chad being mean to me. And me degrading and humiliating myself for your enjoyment and entertainment in the hopes that I might make $5. That's one thing that stayed the same. That's the constant. You know that Lost episode? That's the constant. Let's see how well this is held up. What is this camera angle? Let's see how well this is held up.
Biden is going to come in. He's going to seek compromise with the Republicans. He's going to water down his agenda to try to appeal to these people who are going to tell him to fuck himself. Fox News and conservative media is going to say that he's like a communist radical.
Yeah.
Or whatever. He's not going to do anything about the Supreme Court. He's not going to do anything about it. He's going to start like a bipartisan commission to study the possibility of possibly doing some kind of court reform. Nothing's going to come of that. Then in 2022, because people are going to be so fucking disillusioned with what just happened, the Democratic Party are going to get fucking rinsed again.
This is where it starts to go off the rails because the Republicans and conservatives are just so evil that they kind of overplayed their hand by being just way too evil. And this was before the whole January 6th thing as well, which I think this was October 28th, 2020. It's before the election. So I think the January 6th stuff and just the way that Republicans have used that Supreme Court to their advantage did kind of help flip things.
Again, in the midterms, they're going to lose whatever gains they just...
that still happened. They just didn't lose that badly.
Got in 2018 or 2020.
They didn't lose that badly.
And then you're heading into a 2024 situation where Biden's then going to deal with like a competent Trump who's going to fucking annihilate him. Biden is going to come in.
You're going to have good old Rob.
He's going to seek compromise
through all this.
TRRS Sankara have a good sweaty stream.
Thank you, JNKD. Yeah, they just didn't lose as bad as expected. There's a few curveballs there that I think were obviously unpredictable, but I think that was still pretty accurate. And thanks again, JNKD. And I'm so sweaty. I am so sweaty. It's so hot here, folks.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
TRRS Sankara.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Chimera Machina, thank you. 8 months, tier 1. Thank you for that. Thank you. Biking along the canal in Montreal was gorgeous. Absolutely. It's fantastic, isn't it? What a wonderful city, Montreal. A lot wrong with it. A lot of things that I could complain about. Really probably the best place to live, though. It's probably just about the best place to live in the world, even with all the problems that I complain about. Have you tried Poppy puts that bubbly to rest? I don't think I get Poppy here. I did like that polar kind. I had that, excuse me, when I was in America. I set my renewal for a 6-month sub for September. That sounds great, Takadun. I don't know why that doesn't... You'd think that would trigger like an alert or something. It should. But thank you, Takadun. That's fantastic. And if anyone wants to upgrade from a 1-month to a 3-month or 6-month subscription right now, you can do so. It's on sale because of Subtember. Slubtember, as we call it around these parts. This isn't your ordinary Twitch stream, all right? We have kind of cool and different ways of talking about things. Is Timcast Pat Suck now? No, but Jackson Hinkle did just go on the Timcast show
on me. You're gonna have good
yesterday, and I want to check it out and talk about it. $4.10. Thanks for the gifted sub. Thank you for the gifted sub, $4.10. I appreciate it. And I am going to try and like reach my goals. Obviously, I think that's one, like I said yesterday, I don't want to get too into like the inside baseball stuff here. I really think in order to give myself the time to like meet my daily targets, I need to be on here 4 hours a day. And today I got less than that. I got a little under 3. So I'm a little leery about getting to the goal today, but I am going to try to continue starting this show earlier to give myself enough time and for everyone to have enough time to be able to talk about all the things that there is to talk about and to, hit my targets, hit my goals. But if anyone wants to subscribe today and help out the stream, as always, it's always much appreciated. Because as you know, that's what I got to do on here every day. Make the little number go up.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Have you considered claiming you booked interviews with viral right-wingers? Like, what do I need to do to get featured in fucking Newsweek? I'm like John Malkovich in Burn After Reading. Whose ass didn't I kiss? Mondo Michel, thank you.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thanks for 25 months of Tier 1, Mondo Michel. I appreciate it. And thanks, JNKD, for the gifted sub as well. Thank you. Oh, you know what? Marty, I can't do movie night tonight. Can we reschedule this one? It's been like 4 in a row. And frankly, I got a lot of criticism for missing the last movie night, and not any credit for attending the last 5 or 6. And in fact, spearheading them and promoting them. I think I was due a little bit of slack. Okay? I saw some commentary about me forgetting about the Discord server, etc. I'll leave it up to you, Marty. I would really like to watch Starship Troopers with the chat. I really would. But I can't tonight. I'm seeing some friends tonight. And in fact, that's why I'm late getting started today, because it occurred to me, after I was tinkering with this fucking sub badge for an hour, or you can just do a different movie tonight, maybe. I don't know. That you could do that. I don't know. I'm going to leave it up to you, Marty, because I'm doing it at the last minute, and that's on me. Wants credit for attending 3% of movie nights. No, but I've been the last 6-8 months. You must admit that I have been a consistent fixture. A consistent fixture in the movie nights. I've been showing up. There's been a small uptick. And that's why I was a little bit... Yeah, I know you missed Parasite after literally spending 2 years. After spending 2 years trying to get us to watch this thing. And it was fantastic. I even did an impromptu movie night to watch The Fugitive one night. That was fun. Anyways, I realized that I was oh yeah, I'm supposed to be having some friends over later, and I was making this sub badge, and it was noon, and I was I gotta clean. There's dishes in the sink. I got a bathroom that I need to spruce up, and so then between 12 and 12:30, I was hustling, washing dishes, wiping counters, picking stuff up, just dripping with sweat, just drenched in sweat. This is why I look like this now. Keep the music going. Like the scene from The Flash, exactly. But a big, large guy doing it slowly instead of fast. This is the one main difference there. Oh, it's that kind of a day, folks. I just slammed 2/3 of that can, and it was terrific. Oh. Anyway, I should transition into and also I haven't eaten. I forgot to eat. It is McDonald's Wednesday, so I might have that later. But also I'm seeing some friends later. I'm going to eat with them as well. And I don't have a lot that I can make quickly. I don't have a lot of stuff that I can just quickly throw in. So I just forgot to eat. I slammed a Rain Dreamsicle. I was waiting to do the stream to drink it, but I was running around the house and I was boiling hot, and I slammed my ice cold energy drink while I was doing it. We're taking volunteers for anyone to be a live-in care person for Rob to make sure he doesn't pass out from not eating. Well, when we have the friendship compound, all of this will be easier. When I get to Timcast level, and we're able to all bring this whole thing into the IRL space, into the meat space, and I have folks that are, bringing me stuff while I'm doing this. When we launch Project Mayhem, well, that's phase 3. When we get into phase 3, Project Mayhem, excuse me, we won't have these issues anymore. We got to do Fight Club in the movie night as well sometime. Even though Fight Club has been kind of like appropriated by reactionaries who don't understand it, we can't just let these people take all these like properties and ruin them because they're morons, whether it's The Matrix or whether it's Fight Club. And Fight Club I still love. I still unironically love. It's so great. Iconic performance from Brad Pitt in that as well. Probably my favorite Brad Pitt performance. And some really interesting themes and subtext to dive into, take a bite out of, etc. Not that I should be adding more stuff onto the movie night thing that obviously I'm having my own issues participating in. Yeah, just start saying it's woke. I mean, it is, though, because it's a criticism. All the things that these people took away from it, all the "you're not a unique snowflake" and the whole thing about like this like testosterone-fueled like male cult, and all these ideas. Oh, I'm wondering if another woman is what we need. All these kinds of things. That's all proven in the movie and it's explicitly said in the movie to be bullshit. That's harmful and destructive, and not a coherent ideology. I mean, this is pretty much spelled out in the movie. This kind of like anarchism, this like kind of misogynistic anarchism that ends up being promoted. It's very clearly indicated in the movie to be not a good thing. But people took all that stuff and it's the same as Starship Troopers. Like, Starship Troopers is a movie about these heroic soldiers who had alien 9/11 happen to them, and then they decided to fight the alien menace. It's like, if that's what you think the movie's about, like, you really missed the glaring, flashing sign indicating like what you're actually supposed to take away from it. I've seen people say it's a critique of communism because it's an extremist only interested in destroying the old for selfish reasons. But it's not. He's not a communist, though, Tyler Durden. He just wants to he wants people to be like living these like primitive, like, it's like anarcho-primitivism or whatever. He wants people on all the ruined highways and people tanning meat on the side of the highway and stuff like this. He wants no modern technology, and it's like Unabomber shit. It's not about Marxism or socialism. He's advocating for this return to like this like primitive way of being. Gotta be top 5 on-screen abs. He just looks fucking great in that movie. Honestly. I was listening to a podcast about it the other day as well. I listened to this movie podcast. I do like the part where my credit history was erased. Absolutely. But the whole thing is like what No Theory does to an MF. That's Fight Club. That's Tyler Durden. He understands. He's angry about certain things, and he's correct to be angry about certain things, but he's not taking that anger and channeling it into like productive directions. Resetting and he's like, he understands correctly that the banks and the credit card companies are evil and the class system is evil, but he doesn't have the mental tools to become a revolutionary Marxist, which is what he should do. And that if you have that kind of alienation, you see the narrator at the beginning of the movie is very alienated. He's part of this like banality of evil in a cog in this insurance company. He has this pathetic little IKEA decorated condo, and he's so miserable and alienated despite living in this end of history era. where he has everything. He has money, he has material possessions, he has everything he could ever want, but he's alienated, and that's where this like anger comes from. But because no one has allowed him to read State and Revolution, you meet Tyler Durden, who provides the alternative to his alienated lifestyle, which is in and of itself destructive and harmful and alienating as well. Anyway, that's my dorm room Marxist analysis of Fight Club, but that we should all watch together sometime because it's an awesome movie. But yeah, I was listening to a podcast about it. There's this Twitter account, All the Right Movies, that does a lot of like movie content, obviously, and they have a YouTube show and a podcast, and they did an episode about that recently, and they were talking about Brad Pitt in that movie, and like the stunt coordinator, whoever it was like, he just showed up looking like that. He just showed up on the set looking like that. Like he didn't do training, or I mean, he might have done training, but there was no official like get Brad Pitt in shape to do this movie. He just showed up looking like that, and it's just about the best anybody has ever looked in a film. Oh, I'm so sweaty, folks. It's so hot. So very hot. Yes, we're getting the heat wave, definitely. I mean, it's 30 degrees right now. I don't even think it dipped below 20 last night. It was hot all night. Our AC died and it's 95 today. No! It's 86 right now in Montreal, but I think with like the humidex, with like the humidity factor, we are getting like a heat warning. It feels like 32, which is around 90. It's 40 fucking degrees. I'm GTA and it's awful. Had a fan and AC die last week. It's fun. Not gonna buy a new one now. I don't have AC where I am, and for most of this, it's been pretty hot this summer. Or at least there's been some pretty hot days, but wasn't really that bad. I was able to make it through the summer without being too miserable. But right now, it's tough. Oh. So, I've got about 2 hours left. Thinking about what I can eat. I think I might have to put something together here. I don't know if I can do this. This summer was not the hottest except in USA and North Mexico. We had a 2-month heat wave. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this summer was really all about the wildfires, and it rained a lot this summer. It was like very, very wet and rainy this whole summer. I did see Canada won, Dak. They're going to the semifinals. I'm happy for the boys. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is when you have that guy on your team, they can beat anybody. You know, they're not, I don't know if they're going to win gold or who knows what's going to happen, but when you have a guy of that caliber that can score at the rate that he can, they can go far. And if, like, now that they qualified for the Olympics, if in the Olympics, if they have Jamal Murray and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, plus the different role players and Dylan Brooks and Olynyk, who's a very good international player, they'll have a good chance. They can go on a good run. I think. Dylan Brooks. Well, honestly, my feelings on Dylan Brooks, Chai, is that he's just one of those guys that you hate when he's on the other team, but you like when you have him on your team. And I don't know, and in that big comeback against Spain, which would have determined whether they made the Olympics, really, he was sensational. He was making stops, and he made 3 threes in that fourth quarter comeback. They went down to the quarter down 13 with the Olympic berth on the line, and he made 3 triples and got a bunch of stops and was firing everybody up. So, you know what I mean? When you have him on your team and he's like that, like he didn't really come through for the Grizzlies in the playoffs this year after talking a bunch of shit, which I understand is probably off-putting. But when you see it, when you have him like that, it's like, okay, well, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. Didn't him and Luka both get ejected from this game? I didn't see the highlights yet. Because he got ejected, and then I think later Luka got ejected too. See, you know, I'm sorry, but I kind of like this guy. Come on.
Spot in the final. And look at Dylan Brooks in the tunnel, waiting for his teammates to come back. I assume they said the mantra of this team was body blows, and they took.
He's laughing
at the end of that third quarter.
He's laughing. Look at him.
For a spot in the final. And look at Dylan Brooks in
I love
the
it.
tunnel, waiting for his teammates to come back.
I love it. Dudes rock. All I'm seeing is there's some dudes rocking just now. Don't know anything about this situation, just wandered in. Still a totally pertinent comment, though. Totally pertinent. Like a child walking into the middle of a movie. Yeah. His shot selection is bad, but as a person, I think he's funny. I mean, it's the kind of thing, Bolden, is like when they go in, it's like, great, you know? When he goes 1 for 9 or whatever, then it's frustrating, but I think that's part of the Dylan Brooks experience. Sometimes he makes 3 triples in a fourth quarter and brings your team into the Olympics, carries them into the Olympics by the dialectic. That's the Dylan Brooks dialectic. So here's the 2 main things that I wanted to do today, folks. I put in my title yesterday that I wanted to look at a little bit of these, like the duality of it's so over versus we're so fucking back. I mean, it's sports, baby. You know, that's what you gotta put up with. That's what it's all about. A couple things. Pierre Poilievre put out this like Labor Day video, and he's been talking more about housing stuff, and you know, this whole like where I'm going after these economic issues and trying to use these very real economic conditions, deteriorating material conditions, increasing housing prices, using them to drum up support for the conservative agenda, which is working. If you look at the poll numbers, it's working very well. If there's an election now, we're looking like it's Poilievre country right now, which is going to be not good. But I wanted to take a look at some of those videos and maybe think about and talk about some of these arguments that he's making, these economic arguments that he's out there making, and try and see if we can understand or analyze what's going on there and what he gets right about these things and why this conservative program is not going to be the answer. And I wanted to take a look at this Jackson Hinkle Timcast stuff. We got LaRoucheite patriotic socialists advocating for Marxism on the Timcast podcast. So all kinds of thorny territory. We got people that we don't like making arguments that are meant to sort of appeal to us sometimes. And I want to try and break from two different angles here. From the patriotic socialist angle and from the reactionary conservative goober angle. So I want to see if we can take a look at that and get to the bottom of this. Have some insightful and informative discourse and discussion. That's what I'm planning for today. I don't know. Maybe in another 10, 15 minutes I can pivot into that. Or I could do it now. I don't know. I'm just saying that's what I'm thinking. I'm checking out from the ankle segment. Can't stand hearing him. It is frustrating, I think. But I think it's worth breaking down. As always, I think it's worth looking into some of what these folks are saying and finding the truths in what they're saying and finding the lies and finding the ways that they take very real analysis and pull people into this reactionary direction. I think it's really worth breaking down those kind of arguments. Maybe I'll just, if there's like a short video I can put on, I think that would be the best thing, is just to put on like a short video to vibe out to, and then perhaps, maybe, I could eat something and then transition into doing the serious discourse and discussion. How about that? Okay, let me just put this on first thing, okay? I'll put this on first thing. We can watch this 20-minute video, chat a bit, and then I'll have a good 2 hours or so to break down some of these clips. Here's Eugene Puryear and Rania Khalek
to discuss here, and I think we might as well just jump right into it. And we want to start with the ever at the top of the news story, unfortunately still, and that is the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. And we are very, very honored to be joined here on the show once again by Savim Dagdalin, who is a Minister of Parliament in the Bundestag in Germany, and there she is the spokeswoman for international politics and disarmament for Die Linke, one of the parties there in the German parliament. Ms. Dagdalin, thank you so much for being back with us.
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks.
Well, it's a real honor to have you, and where you are in Germany. Well, I guess where we are here in the United States as well. There's yet another, even more conversation about more tanks, more missiles, more weapons to Ukraine to be sent to Ukraine. And I guess my first question for you here is, what is the impact that this continued escalation is going to have on Germany and have on Europe?
Well, first of all, we just have to make a view back. Since the war began a year and a half ago, Germany and the Western states have continuously expanded their military support for Ukraine in both quantity and in quality. Germany comes right after the US with the military aid for Ukraine. Germany's support for Ukraine alone to date totals 22 billion euros and a further 5 billion per year till 2027, 27, at least, has been promised already by the German government. So the German government has crossed one red line after another in armed deliveries. The decision at the beginning of this year, following massive pressure from the United States to supply German Leopard 2 battle tanks to Ukraine, was a historic breach of a taboo. And however, NATO countries are supporting Ukraine not only with weapons, but also in particular through massive training of Ukrainian soldiers on these weapons here on German soil by Americans and intelligence cooperation. So this shows that Germany and its NATO allies are de facto belligerents in this proxy war, and the German government is currently considering supplying the so-called Taurus cruise missiles to Ukraine. These medium
Sasha, thank you so much for the 5 months.
Have a range of 500 kilometers. That
thank
means
you, Sasha.
From Berlin, 500 kilometers, it's in Moscow, and which would allow, as I said, Ukraine to hit Russian cities far beyond the border with these German missiles. And this would be a dangerous escalation, driving Germany further into war with Russia and threatening the security of the population here in Germany and in Europe, of course. And at the same time, we have to see that the populations of Germany and Europe, they are suffering massively the effects of Western economic sanctions. The sanctions have clearly failed to achieve their goal, like the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock last year said. What is the goal? The goal of the sanctions are to ruin Russia.
It's really amazing, the stats showing how the EU is still buying just as much, or if not more, natural gas from Russia as it was before. They're just now, they're now basically buying it through a middleman. It's like India's buying up the gas, and then there's buying it from India. But still, ultimately, this is the same thing has happened, to point out the way that these sanctions have completely failed. And as we talked about before the stream, before even the conflict started, it seems like the people involved in this invasion really were prepared for the economic consequences. And it seems like almost like they were stress testing the ability of the West to use economic imperialism to coerce them into doing things. And I think it has been revealed to have been pretty successful. It just has not had the impact that anyone thought it was going to, that any of our Western leaders thought. I think it's also worth pointing out, and this is one thing that I appreciate from Breakthrough News, but we talk often about like the whole idea of excuse me, the woke police are coming. The world stands with Ukraine. The whole world stands with Ukraine, and we've broken down how in the past how that kind of statement really it applies to all of the Western, predominantly white, former colonialist countries. That's what, when we say the whole world, it's all of that cartel of Western countries. And the rules-based international order, like that's what it is, whatever you want to call it, the Anglo-American alliance, like, or what, whatever you want to refer to it as. When our leaders say the whole world stands with Ukraine, that's what they're referring to. Also worth pointing out, though, and we don't hear about this, that there's plenty of people, both like in the various parliaments, in the political systems in these countries, which are included in this, the whole world. We've talked about how the rest of the global south and the rest of the world is predominantly neutral on this conflict, or openly supports Russia, as many places in Africa are doing. But also, even in the context of the whole world of the rules-based international order, there are MPs and other political figures that are against this and that have been trying to avoid this outcome and having these same arguments and conversations that we've been having. But of course, that gets completely obscured as well. when it's presented both from our media class and our political class as everyone is united in this. Both the people here, the people around the world, the political figures, we're all united on this. But it's not at all a reflection of real reality. Even within the world, as it's talked about, the Western world, the rules-based international order, there's a ton of dissent. It's just we don't talk about that, and we don't hear from German MPs, for example, that have correctly realized that this has been a fucking disaster for Germany to go along with this whole thing. So I appreciate that Breakthrough News is bringing that perspective to this.
And while Germany's economy slumped by 0.3% in the past quarter, and stagnation also threatens the Eurozone, Russia's economy is now forecast to grow by 2.5% annually. So employees in Germany suffered a historically high real wage loss of 4% last year as a result of the sanctions, the skyrocketing prices, and the inflation, and the price of electricity in Germany is now 3 times higher than in the United States. So that makes very much trouble in the population. And still the population has a lot of skepticism, is against more escalation, is in favor of negotiations and more diplomacy, because instead of cheap gas by pipeline, Euro buys expensive LNG gas from Russia. That is one breaking news today. And it is sheer madness to drive up the prices of food and energy in this way and impoverish the population instead of repairing the Nord Stream pipeline and putting it back into operation. And that makes it just one conclusion to me. All the friends of Europe, all the friends of Germany and the United States and of the European population in the United States, if they are in solidarity and if they are really in friendship with the people of Europe, they should stand up against the prolonging of this war. Against this war, against more weapon deliveries, they should stand up for negotiations, for a ceasefire, and for a peace, for compromise peace.
You know, I know many nations around the world are increasingly calling for exactly what you just said, for peace. Many nations are calling for a serious plan for peace because of the disastrous consequences of this war. But then, of course, advocates of war insist that now is not the time. Savim, how do you respond to those who say that seeking peace is the wrong policy?
You know, you cannot achieve peace by more war. You know, if you want to stop the war, you have to send diplomats instead of weapons. That's the only way to stop a war.
What a crazy radical idea.
Peace. That is the thing. And I think it is really cynical, very cynical by some colleagues in the United States, in the Senate. Recently, one US Senator, Mitt Romney, he revealed the strategy of the United States that behind prolonging the proxy war with exposing honesty, while describing the Ukraine war as a convenient opportunity for the US to weaken Russia.
This is not helping
China
Ukraine
without any casualties of its own.
And like she's pointing out, that's straight out of Mitt Romney's mouth. That's exactly what he said. First of all, that also destroys the whole argument about the fact that Republicans are like pro-Putin or against the Ukraine war. They're not. There's a few of them that might talk a little bit of sense about this, but its biggest cheerleaders are Republicans. Mitt Romney, Lindsey Graham, and all these guys. Number one. Lindsey Graham and John McCain, of course, were part of the U.S. delegation to go visit these fucking Azov guys and promised them to give them all these weapons so they killed Russians. Number one. Number two, when you see people like Mitt Romney or Lindsey Graham who have both said similar things, we're killing Russians, we're not losing any of our own guys, it's great for us. How can you deny, as many people still insist on doing, that this is a proxy war? And you say proxy war? Well, that sounds like a Putin talking point. That sounds like a Putin talking point to me. You're talking about a proxy war. You literally have U.S. officials, Mitt Romney and Lindsey Graham, these are two examples, saying like, hey, we're getting these Ukrainians to kill Russians. This is good for us. We don't even have to have any troops in there, even though as we know, they obviously do. We don't even have to have any troops. We're killing Russians. We don't even have to do anything. If that's not a proxy war, then like, please someone explain to me what a proxy war is, because I'm confused. It's almost like you're using Ukrainian proxies to fight a war against Russia. When they put it like that, isn't it kind of like, excuse me, isn't it kind of like that? Isn't it kind of like that when they explicitly say that? Is that really Putin propaganda, or is it just accurately describing what the situation is, literally coming from the lips of U.S. politicians? Is that Putin apologist? It's like they're literally fucking saying it. Just as they did in 2016 or 2017, whenever it was that that video was released of McCain and Lindsey Graham and Amy Klobuchar going there and visiting these guys. You will remember before the conflict ever took place, at visiting these people and be like, we'll give you whatever you need, just kill the Russians. So it's almost like not only is it a proxy war now, but it was also a proxy war 5 years ago, when they were out there making these explicit promises. Isn't it almost like that a little bit? I don't think that's Putin apologist to just note this obvious fact. We don't need to look for some big grand conspiracy here. You've literally got some of the most high-ranking, powerful U.S. senators out there explicitly saying, both before the conflict started and after, we're using these proxies to kill Russians. That's a proxy war, folks. That's what it is. It's not Putin apologist to just point out this obvious fact. But it is when you live in a completely insane, upside-down media environment, as we do.
In other words, the people of Ukraine are to be sacrificed on the battlefield.
You'd think they would do a better job hiding it.
Disgusting,
they're not hiding it. It's
US
not a conspiracy.
Geopolitical interests. This is just cynical, you know. This is such a cynicism, and
but that's caring about Ukraine
against humanity. Absolutely,
using Ukrainians as proxies to fight Russians. That's caring about Ukraine. You see,
for the U.S. geopolitical interest on European soil, and therefore, I think the Ukrainian counter-offensive has clearly failed. According to a report in the Washington Post, I mean, it's their own agencies, U.S. American agencies, intelligence agencies, see that way too, that this counteroffensive failed. So the thing is, do we have the right to push the Ukrainian people more to this war and to be killed? Whoever is against the killing and whoever is against the destroying of the Ukraine state as a state, all the cities and so on, they have to stop the war in sending more weapons, in sending more oil into this fire. You know, if you have a fire, you not bring some oil tanks to this fire to stop the fire if your house is in fire. You have to stop the fire with your
Dakadoon, is that Russia MOD reported 66K casualties from the offensive? Do you mean like Ukrainian casualties? For Ukraine, okay, yeah. I mean, you know, it's not like we can trust every single thing the Russian Ministry of Defense says, but like if it's even anywhere approaching that kind of a number, that's like horrific to think about. Like that's just horrendous. Think about how difficult it was for the Soviet Union after such a significant percentage of their population died during World War II to rebuild. Now make it Ukraine, except it's through a shock therapy capitalist speed run. Yeah, it's going to be really great. They're going to be a very democratic, autonomous, non-authoritarian place. Western Ukraine, whatever it ends up looking like. as all it's been all the spare parts have just been sold off for peanuts to whatever the highest bidder is, which is a process that's not a conspiracy either. They're literally like just openly privatizing all these resources and all these public services. There you can go to a website and visit and put some money into it if you want to. Land as well, yeah. Which is going to be developed by like BlackRock and U.S. corporations. And yet people are still going to make this argument that it's about protecting the sovereignty and democracy of Ukraine. Like, how fucking ignorant do you have to be of even recent history to believe that?
Fireworkers, you have to call them. And that's,
by the way, this was the ultimate like boy lunch snack. It's really, I had very little to work with. I had the rest of my thing of kimchi, and then I have some little kid food. So I have a little bit of kimchi, a cheese string, and like one of those, a bear paw birthday cake flavored little cookie thing. Yeah, I did have string cheese squatch. It was excellent. That was my lunch today. Kimchi, cheese string, and a birthday cake flavored bear paw cookie.
That's the thing what we have to do. We have to stop this war, and there is only one way to stop this war, in diplomacy, in negotiation, and therefore I'm very, very happy and welcoming all the peace initiatives by the BRICS states like Brazil, like China, or from South Africa or other African states, even the Vatican. The Pope is calling for peace and peace negotiations. So we have to stop this. The expansion of the BRICS, the BRICS countries, which already, the other thing is, according to the BRICS, that's why I was just telling the expansion of the BRICS, the West is isolating itself globally with this pro-war policy as well. By prolonging the proxy war in Ukraine, the West is isolating itself globally because a large majority of states are participating neither in the armed deliveries nor in the economic war against Russia, and are instead calling for peace. And I think the West should support these peace calls by the BRICS states, for example.
No, I think very important point. I, saw yesterday that some Vatican official actually called the Pope a agent of Russian propaganda. But that's another topic for another time. But or if, of course,
Eugene,
I'd be happy to.
We shouldn't allow these propagandists to stop us from our call for peace. And it's been the same. It's all over the same. It's always the same. As a German, I'm just reminding 1914, just beginning of the World War I. Everyone who was against the World War I and against the war credits, the credits here for the budget in Germany, where the World War I started, they called them as agents and spies for Russia and so on, and traitors of homeland. This is always the same. It's been in World War I, World War II, and even with Libya, with Afghanistan, with Iraq, you're on the side of Saddam Hussein or you're on the side of Gaddafi. They are always trying to get you silent, to get the peace movement silent. We shouldn't allow this. We shouldn't be foolish by them, by these war propagandists.
No, I think that's an extraordinarily important point, and it raises another question. It seems to me, look from the outside looking in, that there is a rising peace sentiment in Germany and other countries in Europe. I don't know if that is the correct assessment to make here in the United States, but it does seem people are raising their voices a bit more.
Well, among the population, skepticism about the increasingly massive military support is growing rapidly. We have to see this. 55%
really good juice.
Germans are in favor of starting talks immediately with the aim of ending the war. And this, while we have 100% in the mainstream media propaganda in favor of the war, you know, and still 55% or sometimes 60, 66 are in favor of more diplomacy to ending the war.
Squatch.
But the German government, like most other governments in Europe, has no intention of diplomacy. Instead of representing the interest of its own people, the German government is subordinating Germany to United States policies aimed at prolonging the war. And the most striking example of this is the unwillingness of the German government to clarify the biggest terrorist attack we had on the Nord Stream pipelines, for example. In other words, on Germany's energy sovereignty, on our own sovereignty. Instead of bowing to directives from Washington on this issue as well, the German government should, as I said earlier, get the Nord Stream pipeline repaired and put it in operation again. This would be in the urgent interest of the German population, the German folks, and the German economy in having affordable, cheap energy again, like we had in the last century. And this is one thing where we can see the German government is not serving the people in Germany and the interests and the needs of the people, but they are serving the interests of the US elites. And Germany and Europe must no longer allow, they must no longer allow themselves to be pushed into the fire by the United States of America in the proxy war against Russia. It is of fundamental interest of Europe to end the war, which is taking...
I guess maybe just to possibly throw a little cold water onto this, when we talk about the end in sight for Ukraine, and we've talked before about, you know, the shifting media narrative about it, the way that like this whole counteroffensive has been kind of admitted to have not really worked the way that they were planning to, the way different officials have started to talk about a negotiated settlement and use this kind of language. But a lot of that depends on, because Russia has been, you know, trying to have talks now for, you know, before this took place with the Minsk agreements. There's been offers to have negotiations like throughout this conflict, and that has not ever materialized or it hasn't led to anything. And it's like, if you just, from that perspective, when you think about NATO and the US pushing Ukraine into this counteroffensive rather than negotiating, which just, you know, really horribly and horrifically leads to such this huge loss, and all the people that are being conscripted into that offensive, not trained enough, old people, young people, like it's just really horrendous to think about. But it's like, now we're supposed to say, oh, now that our counteroffensive didn't work, now let's talk, you know? There's not a guarantee that Russia's going to be interested in hearing what anyone has to say when there's been this repeated effort to prolong this for as long as possible. They could, and I hope this isn't the case, they could say, no, actually we're quite comfortable just keeping this going. And maybe we can secure more territory. Maybe we can shore up what we have. But we were willing to talk before. Now that we're in a better position because of this like failed offensive, maybe now we're less interested in it. I don't know, but I would like to think that there is an end in sight and that is on the verge of stopping. But you see what I mean about like, oh, now we want to talk. Now we want to have an end in sight. Now we want to have a settlement. After you just committed to this like totally ill-conceived and ill-advised counteroffensive. I don't know. I hope that there is an end in sight, though, obviously.
Taking place on European soil, not over there in your country, as quickly as possible and to prevent it from escalating further. Europe must work for a ceasefire and negotiation without preconditions. This could be the beginning of a sovereign and independent foreign policy for Europe. Subordination to the United States and NATO must come to an end.
Yeah, more and more people are saying this. Let's stop being completely subordinate to the United States foreign policy.
Do you see a relationship?
Let's stop taking orders from the U.S. State Department. At least someone in Germany is brave enough to be making this argument. Is there one fucking person in the entire Canadian Parliament that's willing to make this claim? Let's stop chaining ourselves to the United States and stop taking orders from the U.S. State Department. Is there one politician in Canada that's willing to say that? I don't think so far. I haven't heard it. I haven't heard anyone articulate any kind of a viewpoint like that. Should that be that controversial? Let's unchain ourselves from this dying, reactionary, violent empire before it's too late, before we sink to the fucking bottom with them. Can one person in this country say that? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Canada will probably send troops to Ukraine before that happens. It's amazing that it's how completely cucked we are to the U.S. State Department and U.S. foreign policy. It's just pathetic. You'd think maybe some of these like Canadian nationalist types would have more of something to say about that. Geography ties us to America, tough spot we're in. Yeah, and you know what? I'm not even sure it's possible to unchain ourselves, if I'm being honest, but that doesn't mean I don't think people should have that conversation, or we shouldn't say that, or we shouldn't talk about it. You know, if we really don't have an independent foreign policy, let's spell that out for everybody, right? Instead of just going along with it. If we really don't have the choice to participate in this kind of stuff, then let's really get that out there for everyone to see. Let's get all our cards on the table here. The NDP would, but they're busy protecting us from evil China. Well, I don't even think they would, though. I mean, the NDP's criticizing Trudeau for not being chained enough to U.S. foreign policy.
Well, I think all of us here would certainly like to see that. And Savim, I'm curious, do you see a relationship? Well, first of all, you've been an advocate for the freedom of Julian Assange for some time now. You've been very outspoken on this. Do you see a relationship between Julian Assange's persecution and the warlike policies of the governments that are seeking to imprison him for life?
Well, we know the reason why Julian Assange is in prison. The reason why Julian Assange is facing 175 years in a super high maximum prison in the United States, and the reason why he is locked up or lost his freedom since 13 years in UK and is in a maximum security prison in London for the last 1,603 days is because he published the US war crimes in Iraq, in Afghanistan. He published the torture program of the CIA, the global torture program. He published the darkness of the US foreign policy in Guantanamo or in Abu Ghraib, and the secret prisons around the world he put into the light. That's why he is in prison. He has shown the world that there is no clean and surgery
we really have press freedom in this society.
Like the propagandists of the Afghanistan war or the Iraq war always said that they have clean wars. There is no clean war. And we have to say no war is our war. That's why we are standing up against the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war, and also against the Ukraine war. We are not in an alliance with governments. We are against war policies. And this is why Julian is in prison. They want to hide their war crimes. They want to hide their nasty wars, which always includes crimes, by the way, always. and that's why he is persecuted by the U.S. Administration. It doesn't matter from which kind of government and administration, because the one is, blaming the other one to be bad, The Democrats are saying about the Republicans they are bad administration, but the thing is, it is the actual Joe Biden administration which is persecuting and is looking for locking him up for 175 years, and the continued detention of Julian Assange is a debacle of for the rule of law and democracy, and it is a disgrace that the collective West has abandoned this courageous, brave hero, I would say. He's not only a journalist, he's a hero of our time. And that even the German
I appreciate what Assange did, and I agree that he shouldn't be in jail. I maybe could have done without this whole segment of just the nonstop sort of hagiography.
A values-based foreign policy has remained silent on the persecution of the West's dissident, and this, although Germany plays a significant role in the U.S. persecution of Julian Assange, because in the indictment of the U.S. against Julian criminalizes political statements made at major events and congresses in Germany, and the common journalistic practice of cooperating with whistleblowers. So a conviction of Julian Assange in the United States would be a threat to media in Germany and Europe as well. So that's why I think the case of Julian Assange touches on Germany's democratic sovereignty as well. That's why I'm standing against this persecution and for his freedom, because I think fighting for the freedom of Julian Assange is the fight for the freedom itself.
I agree. No matter what you think about the guy, Assange should not be in jail. Assange revealed war crimes for which the people that committed these war crimes have never had any kind of justice or repercussions. I have my own issues with politically what WikiLeaks did after that, and like as a response to the kind of persecution that he was under. Kind of trying to grift onto the sort of MAGA train and appeal to reactionaries and conservatives, and becoming kind of like the Clinton bad outlet, hoping that Trump was going to pardon him, which was obviously stupid from moment one, and I think kind of whitewashed a lot of the really nasty and reactionary elements of Trumpism to try and hurt Hillary and the Democrats, who they hate. But regardless of any of that stuff, he should still not be in jail. Like I said, I think we can maybe do without the hero comments and the real hagiography, but absolutely should not be in jail. And should be, regardless of any of these things, should be a celebrated journalist for helping to bring that story to people and helping to expose the ruthlessness and the violence behind American foreign policy. So should probably now pivot to talking about this Pierre Poilievre stuff. I got about another hour and 15 minutes. So I would like to do that. Before we get started on that though, folks, I would just like to take maybe 5 minutes here to remind people that the only way that this program, TRRS, is able to stay on the air is through the generous donations of the chatters and community members. So if you can, folks, please, it's Slubtember right now. If you can, please subscribe to TRRS. Support the show, support the community, become a member of Twitch's only 2-dimensional triangle-shaped trickle-down clout and friendship access tiered reward system. You can do that for the low price of $5 per month. It is completely free of charge with an Amazon Prime account, which you can very easily convert to a Twitch Prime sub, totally free of charge. You can subscribe. You can gift subs as well to rocket yourself right up to the very top of the friendship triangle system. What else? Right now, because it's Slubtember, of course, if you're a new chatter or a unsubbed viewer, you can subscribe. If it's your first subscription, you can subscribe at a discount for, I believe, 25% off. And you can also get a discount if you want to upscale your subscription from a tier 1 to a tier 2 or 3, or if you're already a subscriber and if you're a regular community member and you upscale to a 3-month or 6-month, you can do so at a discount. So in just 5 minutes or so, I will talk about Pierre Poilievre and these economic arguments that he's making, and you get very good emotes. With more coming. We got more emotes coming. Okay? Season 4 is on the horizon. There's all kinds of big changes on the horizon as well. So before we hear these economic arguments coming from Conservative Party leader here in Canada, Pierre Poilievre, I'd just like to make a little...
Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
Oh my goodness gracious. Before I make these economic arguments, to make my own little economic argument right now. And Squatch, Jesus Christ, Squatch Drew, thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs, my good sir. That is so kind of you. I love that alert. It's just I love it because it's like, obviously it's the 10 gifted sub alert. I just think it's fantastic to look at as well and listen to. And I really, really appreciate that, Squatch, and all the support you've shown me and the channel and the community. The entire Squatch Drew family. So do any other fine chatters want to subscribe to this program? It would be great to just, like I said, I know it's going to be a slog getting to the goal when I'm only doing the show 3 hours or so. I completely get that. If there's anyone else out there, though, that would like to support this channel, help make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up, which, as you know, I must do day in, day out on this platform in order to eke out a small living, a meager existence from doing this program. So if there's any other fine individuals, some brave heroes that want to step forth and subscribe to this program, now is a good time for that. And in just a few minutes, I can transition into having the rest of the conversation that I was planning on having today. And I'm certain that there's at least a handful of brave heroes who would like to have TRRS soldiers, Friendship Triangle soldiers. I was going to say you have the triangle on the sleeve, but it's like, no, that's very troubling historical connotations there. We don't need to go that. We don't need to do any of that. We don't need to go down that road, actually. Let's avoid that. We can wear hats. How about that? We'll get matching hats. We don't need to fuck around with any armband symbols. Very problematic. I would like to get a hat. I don't know if James Ed Smith is here, but James had a kind of interesting design for one of those old school sort of media logo things. Maybe that would be a good hat kind of thing. I would like to have a TRRS hat. We only have armbands if we're playing soccer and someone is the captain. Yeah, let's avoid any unless it's a specific sport context like that. Let's avoid that kind of iconography or imagery. Or we are the WWE group Nexus. The Nexus was cool. I wasn't really watching at the time, but so what do you say, folks? I would love to move past this and get into the next segment. Do we hear 20 sub? Can we get above 20? And I can move on from this segment. I can move on from this segment and we can have the rest of this wonderful, important analysis and discussion. The Flat Bill Brigade. Well, as you know, that's how I do it.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Pezzy, thank you very much for the gifted sub. First gifted sub from Pezzy. Thank you so much, Pezzy. That's very kind of you. Yeah, as you know, I am part of the Flat Bill gang, but I don't know. We could switch it up.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
TRRS Sankara.
Now, I've given you the carrot, folks. I've given you the carrot. Mordecai. Thanks for the 6 months of Tier 1. Very, very much appreciated. Thank you. I've given you the carrot. And now it's time for the stick. The hitting stick. I didn't want to have to come to this, okay? I would love to just be able to do my little pitch segment, you know, make the number go up a little bit. We're all friends. It's all positive. Unfortunately, you forced my hand. You forced my hand, and then it's time to get nasty. I don't think anyone would like me when I'm angry, and I know we don't have to go down that road too far. I enjoy a small bend to the head, Bill. I like the small bend as well. I can't do the too much of a curve. Yeah. That's way too much. That is way too much. Now, folks, I'd like to get 2 more subs before moving on here. I would love to get 2 more subs, and then we can have more of this important and insightful discussion. Don't make me do this. Don't make me do this. It's audio editing. It's probably the noise gate that's doing it. That's catching it. Don't make me do this, chat. I didn't want it to come to this. I didn't want it to come to this. Mordecai, you're safe. Squatcher, you're safe. Pezzy, you're safe. Everyone else is on notice. I didn't want it to come to this. I didn't want it to come to that. I didn't want to have to go down this path. I don't want to have this kind of relationship. It kind of seems like chat wants more. Is that what I'm hearing? I didn't want to have to do this. I wanted this to be polite, clever, efficient, and not a lot to ask. Alas, your Mr. Takagi did not see it that way, so he won't be joining us for the rest of his life. This is your forward. What a ridiculous thing this is, this whole show. How ridiculous. The thing is, I can't threaten chat like this because too many of you like it. This is the issue. You like it and you want more of it. This is the problem. This is why it doesn't work as a coercive technique. You know? I fear for the mic more than my own personal safety. I'm just giving it a little light whacking. That's all. Just a little light little whacking. Let's talk about Pierre Poilievre. Okay? I want to talk about these economic arguments that Pierre Poilievre is out there making. The sickos in chat are withholding their slubs, then get yelled at more. I know. Disgraceful. Absolute sickos.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Anon. Thank you. Thank you, Anon, for the 2 gifted subs.
You can count on me. You're going to have good
I'm
old
sorry,
Rob
okay?
to talk you through all this.
I'm sorry, chat. How's his makeover been received? I don't know. I mean, if you look at the poll numbers, it's going pretty well. I don't know how that much that has to do with the makeover. Most people that have commented on Pierre's makeover seem to be like middle-aged men that are like, he looks so great. He looks like daddy or whatever. So I don't know whether that's a real thing. What was his makeover? Well, I mean, here's his normal look here. This is from a speech, but he took off the glasses. He got some contacts here, and he gets the suit, gets the aviators. How is it? It seems like he's got to put the glasses back on. Like maybe with the aviators, this is a decent look, but like, look how close his eyes are to one another. It's not good. You know? Like I said, you can get cool glasses like these and just wear those. Then he's got to put the glasses back on, though. Maybe just get some different glasses. Yeah, it is the literal Millhouse. Like, it's not cool. He does not look good. Anyway, here's this thing from Housing the other day, and here's this thing from Labor Day. So here's this post. And number one, you can't say this bullshit and be against Marxism, which is, Poilievre has spent his whole career as like a conservative operative, Make Canada work again for all the extraordinary people who do the hard work. It's almost like the workers create the value, create the profits, and they deserve the profits. Is that right, Pierre? Well, it's kind of what he's saying, but my guess is that's not what his actual political program is going to be responsive to. Here's this post. I saw a number of people sharing this. 1.5 million views on this. Here's Pierre Poilievre's Labor Day message. Let's hear what he has to say.
If you want to see goodness, greatness, and genius, don't look to those above, look to those all around you. We often call these the ordinary people. But I'll tell you, they are not ordinary. They are extraordinary. The single mother,
Fucking Christ.
that I meet, who works on her feet all day.
What is Pierre? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm so triggered already. I hate how no one asks these basic questions. And maybe we'll hear some real answers here from Pierre Poilievre. What the fuck is he going to do for single mothers? What is Pierre Poilievre going to offer other than tax cuts and austerity? And slashing social programs, and slashing public education, and slashing public health care, and giving people tax cuts, and cutting social services. What is he fucking offering other than that? Does any fucking journalist in this country want to ask him this question? Maybe he's going to have some answers. I cannot stand how he uses this kind of pro-worker language and pretends to stand up for the little guy. Oh, the extraordinary. They're not ordinary people. They're extraordinary. While not offering anything other than these standard boilerplate, trickle-down, austerity-focused conservative economics that have been proven beyond any shadow of a doubt to only increase inequality and make the lives of working people harder and more difficult. I fucking hate how he's able to go out and make these arguments, and instead of anyone asking these basic questions, they'll say, look at him, he's talking about these issues that affect everybody. He's really hurting Trudeau with his economic message. The Conservative Party is never going to offer anything other than what I just described. Austerity, tax cuts, destroying social services, destroying public health care, destroying public education. That's what conservative economics is.
Home, teaches her kids math, and balances her family budget on a minimum wage salary. She's not ordinary.
Are you going to raise the minimum wage?
Farmer that masters the science.
She's on a minimum wage budget. What's Pierre Poilievre's position on raising the minimum wage?
Soil and storm to bring food from his field to your fork is not ordinary. He is extraordinary. The electrician who captures lightning, runs it through a copper wire to light up your home, tames the most fierce force in nature.
Oh, fuck's sake.
To make us all comfortable and happy and illuminate this room. He is not ordinary. He is extraordinary. The policewoman dodges bullets by day.
Oh, shut the fuck up, dodges bullets.
To her children at night is not ordinary. She is extraordinary.
Yeah, police, first of all, are not workers. Saying about police in this country are not dodging bullets every day. They're harassing Indigenous people predominantly if they're not taking them out to on Starlight tours to extrajudicially assassinate them. Or executing 16-year-old girls in the street like the story we talked about yesterday. He who has tamed the power of Zeus himself. This is the big fucking great economic message we're hearing from Pierre Poilievre. What an absolute joke. These policewomen out there doing Matrix bullet time and then raising a family. God damn, dude.
These people are meant to be masters in their own homes, even though they're not famous. When they die, there are no headlines in the newspapers. There are no eulogies on the floor.
So should workers take home a higher portion of the profits of what they're creating? No. Should we pay them more? No.
That they carried their families, their neighbors, and their nation on their shoulders, and a quiet murmur goes out from the hosts of heaven. There goes greatness. Our jobs, my friends, are to be the champions of these people, the common people, the common sense of the common people, united for our common home. Canada, your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you very much.
Pathetic. Useless, thank you very much for not you, Useless. You're not pathetic. Imagine that if I was really like negging you. Thank you, Useless, for the 20 months tier 1. The police are like Neo in the Matrix. This is the hard-hitting economic populist message that we're hearing from. Fucking pathetic that this gets this kind of credit. I was almost willing to think that like, oh, have they gotten to the left of the liberals or whoever on this? But no, he's not even saying anything. Jesus Christ, who's this? Brian Bruget. Who's this? These are the fucking people in our country. Jesus Christ, he's going to win over 200 seats. This is so good. These people are just embarrassing. And then this person. Good morning to this ad. It's the ad the NDP should have made, but here we are. The NDP dropped the ball on many of these issues, and the right wing has picked it up. You fuckers failed. There are real consequences to doing nothing. I agree with part of that. I don't think the NDP has been good. I don't think they've been good at articulating this message. But we don't need to hand it to Pierre Poilievre. This sucks. This is embarrassing. This is pathetic. This conservative economic populism, he's not saying anything at all. He's talking about people struggling to get by on a minimum wage. Ask, does he support raising the minimum wage? Simple question. Simple question that he has never answered. This is all I can find. He hasn't actually, would you believe that he hasn't actually gone on record as saying that he does think the minimum wage should go up? Here's from Press Progress, April of this year. Conservative MP repeatedly refuses to say if Pierre Poilievre supports giving workers a raise. Easy. If you're complaining, if you're talking about people struggling to get by on minimum wage, answer the basic question, are you going to raise the minimum wage?
Your party's position. Do you support PSAC's position that they would like to see a 13.5% raise over 3 years, that is commensurate with the rate of inflation? And
this is with the PSAC strike.
Federal Public Service. Should the government capitulate on that?
Vashi, we heard it from the Prime Minister in the opening clip. He is the one who is at the negotiating table. So he is the one who must evaluate what is necessary in an effort to end this strike.
Simple question.
I'm not going to comment on hypotheticals because this rests squarely on Justin Trudeau and his incompetent government.
I'm not absolving them in any way of their role in these negotiations. And you heard me question Mr. Fergus. I've questioned Minister Fortier multiple times on their position. I don't think it's a hypothetical, though, to ask what the Conservative Party supports. Do you support working people?
Well, if you support working people, when workers are on strike, such as what was happening with the PSAC strike, which we covered on here, basic question. Put up or shut up. Shit or get off the pot, whatever cliche phrase you want to use. If you're going to go out there and talk about this populist economic language about, the poor working with these extraordinary working people that are just having such a tough time getting by, like these single mothers on minimum wage, or striking workers, striking public sector workers who simply want to be paid or receive a pay increase at the same rate as inflation so you can have a full-time job as a public sector worker and afford to have a basic place to live at the end of the month. Should be a no-brainer if you care so much about these extraordinary workers.
I understand that. Do you support the union's position that they should get a 13.5% raise? Why won't you answer that?
As long as the strike is ongoing, as long as they continue to be at the negotiating table, it is a hypothetical. And as such, we will rest the blame with the Prime
Easy
Minister
question.
and with the Liberal government and their incompetence, Vashi.
Okay, I'm just going to register that that's not an answer to the direct question.
I can't find any other news stories. I can't. Weirdly enough, I'm here looking in the Google News results for Pierre Poilievre minimum wage, and you will notice that I do not see any stories about Pierre Poilievre saying, I believe the minimum wage in Canada should be higher. You'll notice that I do not see any fucking story about that. I really can't stand. And you know what? I agree that the NDP has dropped the ball on a lot of this stuff. Couldn't agree more. I talked about that yesterday. I talked about the perfect phone call that I heard about through my various sources. Where did that go? Where did that video go? That I heard about through my various sources that led to that Liberal and NDP partnership. I agree that they've dropped the ball. But the fact that Pierre Poilievre is getting credit for this fucking word salad, totally context-free, totally specific-free, economic populist message about these extraordinary working people and how they're having such a tough time getting by, without just offering a basic program for like how to actually help people that are in this position is absolutely embarrassing. It is a McKinsey ass ad. I would love to see who was involved in that. You know, it's extremely pathetic that he gets away with this. And I don't think anyone should be giving them credit. This is not a good ad. I saw people, as a daughter of an electrician, I love this post because he's talking about harnessing the power of nature, the most awesome destructive forces of nature, like this nerdy ass shit. The Pleb Reporter. This is the fucking people that we have commenting on this. YouTuber covering the culture wars. The Pleb Reporter, Blue Check on Twitter, Truck Driver Pleb. Pierre Poilievre is going to absolutely demolish Trudeau in the next election. Absolutely perfect Labor Day message. Like, who the fuck are these people? Absolutely ridiculous. This is really, really, really good. Another fan who's Kirk Lubimov. I hate discovering all these goddamn people. I advise some of the companies you know and startups you will know. Another fantastic video and message. The success of a country is built with those who roll up their sleeves and build it. They deserve respect back in a country that's there for them. Pierre understands it. He has a connection to the people. That's why the dictatorship admiring camp is afraid of populism. He's not fucking offering anything. The reason this message is resonating with people is because it hints at Marxism, which Pierre Poilievre has spent his whole life being against. When you talk about workers having more democratic control, taking home more of the profits that they're creating, the fact that workers are the people that do all the work, that build the country, all of that is absolutely true. That's the appealing part of the message that people are responding to. But where is Pierre taking that analysis? Where is Pierre taking that complaint about the downtrodden working man? Again, this is what Pierre Poilievre is offering. Austerity, slashing social programs, slashing public education and public health care. That is it. Working with the developers and slashing the taxes of the big developers, the telecom companies, the oil companies, fossil fuel companies, the old growth lobbying companies, slashing all their taxes while doing everything possible to make life worse for the average person that he's talking about. While then maybe saying, like, here's a little tax cut that you get. Absolutely pathetic that this is what passes for, like, populism. At least an actual conservative populist would actually lean into, like, more social programs and actually empowering workers in some way. But he's not even doing that. I hate this shit. I hate that people are giving him credit for this completely substanceless, pathetic grift, faint towards this kind of like Marxist populist message that completely has zero answers or zero context to anything that he's saying. Here's his housing message. Let's hear about this. It's another thing. He's talking about housing. Oh, he's talking about all these issues. Well, you've got a 5-minute video here. We got freshly made over Pierre. Oh, it's not good, Pierre. What is that? That is not good. Put the glasses back on. Just get some cool glasses like me. You can talk to Christopher Clue's eyewear company. They'll probably send you a pair.
You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I am a golden shower badge god.
Weenus. Oh, my sweet Weenus. Weenus, thank you very, very much for the 24 months, tier 1 of Prime. 24 months of Prime from Weenus. And congratulations to you for the highly elite, highly exclusive 24-month, 2-year TRRS golden, shimmering golden sub badge. Fantastic. Yeah, the Euro settler colonial mindset. Work hard and don't ask for much. I honestly, GMO Radio, feel like I'm going fucking crazy. I would really love for this man to articulate what his actual economic platform is. And if I'm wrong about the fact that all he's offering are tax cuts and social spending cuts, i.e. what every single fucking conservative has offered now for the last 40, 50 years, if I'm wrong about that, please, someone provide me with an example of him meaningfully offering some kind of concession or some kind of policy or program that's going to meaningfully increase people's material conditions, these extraordinary working class people that he claims to care about. Here's his housing policy now.
You're trapped. You can't start a family or a life while you're living in a 400 square foot apartment.
He's a landlord.
Or trapped in your parents' basements, despite the fact that you did everything right. You graduated, you got a job, you work hard, you can't afford a home. This is obviously because housing costs have doubled under Justin Trudeau. Now 9 in 10
He's a landlord.
young people
He's
believe
profited
they'll
from the
never
housing crisis
be able
increases.
to afford a home.
That's the basic question as well. Housing prices have doubled. Here's another simple question for Pierre Poilievre that I would like for some actual journalist in this country to maybe ask. I know no one puts me in this position to be able to ask these questions. Maybe I can get Pierre to come on this show. If he's really interested in talking to other people, I would be happy. Since no one else in this fucking country seems interested in asking these basic questions, maybe I can do it. Housing prices have doubled. Simple question then. Does Pierre Poilievre support policies that are going to decrease the price of housing in Canada? Should be a no-brainer, right? If you're going to complain about correctly and justifiably complain about these things, the increase in housing prices, the people that, yes, people are trapped, that are people that are living in their parents' basements and are not able to afford a home. If that is true, I would really be interested to hear Pierre's answer about what he thinks should happen with housing prices in this country, which again, he invests in. He makes money personally from the housing crisis continuing to increase, which is corruption, as I've talked about before. People forced to dance in front of a camera for slubs. This is what 40-year-old men are out here doing this. Absolutely disgusting. Let's hear more about this.
Under Justin Trudeau. Now 9 in 10 young people believe they'll never be able to afford a home. This is not normal. This is not how Canada has always been.
Our whole fake economy is reliant on this housing market.
Unprecedented. It happened only once before, back in the early 1980s, under the previous Trudeau, when interest rates went skyrocketing, forcing families like mine to actually leave their homes and find somewhere else to live. But in the years that
Trudeau
followed,
hasn't raised the interest
a solution
rates.
Came to those families. A solution that is as obvious as the day is long. We built more homes. Homes like this one, built in 1988. In that year, Canada
How much is that home worth today?
220.
How much are these new homes going to be worth?
Homes. Our population was a lot smaller back then, so we didn't need to build as much. But here's a startling fact.
Build more
Canada
McMansions.
only built about 220,000 homes last year. An even more incredible fact, we were building more houses per year 50 years ago than we are right now. This is a uniquely Canadian problem. Canada has the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on. In fact,
like the green belt that his friend Doug Ford is selling off to the highest bidder.
Trudeau took office 8 years ago. This is strange because Canada has among the biggest supply of land of any country on earth. We have only 4 people for every square kilometer. This compares to, for example,
you want to build social housing,
which has 338 people for each kilometer.
Let's hear some fucking answers here, some real answers.
Easily build affordable homes for anyone
What's
who
affordable?
wants to have one, and yet we have the fewest houses of any country at all. Why?
What does affordable mean?
What is standing in the way? The answer, in a word, is government. Government is standing in the way. Government prevents builders.
We just got to just cut the taxes of those developers and unleash the developers. Why hasn't everyone thought about this before? What if we just cut the taxes of all these developers, got all that government red tape out of the way, and then these people are just going to develop, and they're just going to, out of the goodness of their hearts, build homes that are affordable to average people? I can't believe no one's thought of this brilliant idea before. At a loss. Yeah, exactly. We need big apartment blocks, obviously, not single-family million-dollar homes.
Institute. The cost of government bureaucracy.
That red tape. This is so pathetic.
And other
this is what passes for economic populism. I told you folks, like, yeah, the private markets will make it efficient. Our entire economy is built on this housing market that's completely overheated. It can't go down or our economy is destroyed. He knows this.
$3 million per home in the city of Vancouver. $350,000 per home in Toronto. And $212,000 in
You can count
Regina.
on me. You're going to have a good old Rob to talk you through all this.
1 year BB.
El Sanguito, thank you so much for 1 entire year of Tier 1. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Enjoy the 1 year sub badge. You've earned it.
Us block people from doing what they did in this neighborhood back in the 80s when we were able to find our home on this street. Back at that time, people were able to build, and we were able to build brand new neighborhoods.
Identical to Olivia Chow's housing policy.
Silverado.
That's all the options we have. Unleash the power of the developers.
Gave hope and opportunity to families that needed it most. Families.
This is the problem, is that real estate developers in Canada have just had it too tough for too long here. We need to unleash them.
Of home ownership by getting the government gatekeepers out of the way to build, build, build. How? Well, to start with.
Well, this guy's such a dork.
Gives billions of dollars to our big cities for infrastructure. Right now, the Trudeau government gives that money even to those cities that block home building, rewarding politicians for standing in the way of the builders that could provide you with a home. I'm going to change the deal. I'm going to make it so that cities are rewarded for getting out of the way and letting builders build. I'll require every big city increase building permits by 15% per year or lose some of their federal grants. But those that exceed the 15% target will get a building bonus. I'll require every federally funded transit station be pre-zoned and permitted for high-density apartments all around so that our youth and seniors can live right next to the bus or train. And we'll.
That is one thing that I will hand it to him. The fact that Poilievre is out there saying, yeah, we need big apartment buildings near the metro stations. That is, 15-minute cities, exactly. That's the funny thing about that. That might pass for like an economic populist or progressive economic message. So, in the interest of being a fair and balanced and unbiased journalist, I will give credit for the fact that Poilievre is actually advocating for a policy like that. But that should be the policy. This whole thing about unleashing developers is a complete fucking farce. That's the carrot they dangle. Yeah, of course. I'm sure we'll see what the priority is, like when we're actually living in Poilievre country. And of course, except building new transit stations, also not part of the plan. Very worth pointing out as well. Except his ideas for those are luxury apartments. I guess we'll have to see it in practice.
We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings that we can convert into affordable housing for people just like you. In other words, we'll launch construction and build communities just like this one was built in the 80s, giving my family the hope to start all over again after we lost our previous home. We can do this.
So your family moved. So that's what happened. Let's be clear here. Your family moved. He's making it sound like they were homeless. Pierre, you were not homeless. It's called moving. Many of us actually went through that as children. You simply moved to a different house. That's all. Let's be clear here. That's all that happened. You weren't forced to leave the house because of Pierre Trudeau Sr.'s policies. Living in your fucking wood-paneled station wagon for 3 years before you've landed somewhere else after the Mulroney government took over. That's not what happened, Pierre. That's not what you called moving. Let's tone it down a little bit.
We can build the homes that you need for your future. We need the government to get out of the way so that we can bring it home.
Overall, extremely pathetic. Extremely pathetic that this is what gets passed as like economic populism in this media climate. Cool story. How much was that home in relation to your income, sir? That's a great question again. These are the questions that I fucking wish someone was going to ask this guy. You know, we've talked about what the conservative economic vision looks like. You don't need to give people credit for talking about the poor, downtrodden people. Like all of this is not the economic consequences that we're living in right now. It's the economic consequences of neoliberalism, which the Conservative Party of Canada gleefully, happily participated in. That's the cause of our current various crises, whether it's the housing crisis or the climate crisis or like the massive amount of inequality. It's because we're living in the tail end of these failed neoliberal policies that the Conservative government under Mulroney and others have been happily and openly participating in and contributing to. He's trying to frame it as some like the responsibility for this like liberal policy from the late 70s. We're literally living in the end result of the ideology that the Pierre Poilievres of the world have been struggling to create for now years and decades. Hello, Husker. They build tons of big apartment buildings next to trains in my city, and they're all upwards of $2,300 a month, so that's not really enough. Well, that's what I mean. It's like when Pierre's talking about building these apartment buildings next to metro stations, he's not talking about building public housing. He's literally saying the government is the problem. We would have a possible solution to these issues if there was a massive investment in public housing. Public, that's the government. And he's literally saying the problem is that we're going to do the opposite of that. The government's the problem. We need to cut the red tape. If Pierre actually supported these things, wanted poor and downtrodden working class people, elderly people, or students to have access to affordable housing, he would promote building public housing. Is he doing that? No. If he wanted people to complain about people's material conditions and not being able to get by on the minimum wage, he would advocate for raising the minimum wage. He's not. If he wanted to care about the concerns of working people, he would stand with striking working class public sector workers, which he does not. This is just a complete fraud. This is a complete fraud on every level. And because our political culture in this country is so completely fucking illiterate, and our media class is so subservient to this liberal conservative status quo, no one can expose this obvious reality. It's just beyond frustrating, which is why I have to do it here on twitch.tv/Rob Rousseau. You'd think if we had free speech or a free press in this country, someone could go on the media, even if they were the token wacky leftist guy, and make this argument. But unfortunately, we don't have that. It's a market, and a market can only function under conditions of scarcity. More supply helps when a market can't solve the problem. Like I was saying, the problem that we're in is because we've had this market-based approach to housing policy for 40 years. We're living in the result of the market-based approach. We have stopped building public housing, both liberals and conservatives. We've done the very thing that he's saying we need to do. Get the government, make sure the government's not involved. Empower developers. That's what liberals say. That's what the NDP says. That's what the Conservative Party says. This is the market-based approach. We're living in the market-based approach. More markets are not going to be the issue. More market-based solutions, that's not the problem. That's been our approach to housing policy and every other kind of economic policy in this country for the last 40 years. At least.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
17.
Sans, thank you for the 17. The 17 months of Tier 1. That's interesting. 17, you said. What do you mean by that exactly? 17. Thank you, Sans. Anyway, I'm glad I did this segment because I knew I was going to get riled up looking up this, and I did.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Diego, thank you so much for the gifted sub. I really appreciate all the support, Diego. Thank you. Notice how Rob bullies Chad for typos, yet complains that Chad bullies him. Well, if you dish it out, you should be able to take it. How about that? How about that, Blursid? Not a type. Not a type. Type was a typo. Okay. At least we can admit that. At least we can agree on that. Thank you again, Sans, for the sub. The 17 months of Tier 1. Yeah, I knew I was going to get worked up looking at this, and I was. I'm hot. I'm hot right now. It's hot in my apartment, and I'm heated right now. Because I can't stand the fact that this is what passes for this, economic populism in this godforsaken country. Worked himself into a shoot, brother. It really drives me crazy, honestly. People falling all over themselves to talk about how great this is.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Go buy yourself a home with Central Air.
Bleep Lord, thank you very, very much for 500 friend coin. Thank you, Bleep Lord. The only reason this has any chance of succeeding is because the NDP sucks that fucking much. Look at this shit. I mean, we're still a couple years out from a election. But look at how this message is resonating with people. It's from 4 hours ago. The polling right now would put the CPC at 179 seats plus 60. The Liberals at 103. That's minus 57. The NDP at 21 minus 4 have failed to move the needle whatsoever. This is what we're looking at right now. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 2 years? But at the moment, right now, we are looking at a huge conservative majority government. The elections aren't scheduled. I mean, they have to be called within 5 years, right? Within 5 years. But if the government collapses, which is in a parliamentary democracy can happen really at any time, and it's not because the NDP and the Liberals have made this deal, which I talked about yesterday, how this deal was made, that I heard about through my sources. What happens when Pierre doesn't solve these problems? Well, then they ratchet everything to the right. They give tax cuts to all the people that they want to give tax cuts to. We have 5 years of a conservative government of austerity and social program cuts and further inaction on climate change. and then we get some kind of shitty liberal government in after that, or maybe the NDP gets slightly better and they win 30 seats instead of 25. That's what happens. That's what happens. Oh. Oh. Thanks for the hope. Well, I'll tell you what, I take no pleasure in reporting this. And listen, I sometimes, maybe I get like, I'm just too much of a narcissist. Maybe sometimes I like to think that like talking about this stuff here has more impact than it does. I really do want to put on some kind of a political event. Whether it's like a think tank thing or something. I would like to do something, have like a conference where we have speakers, where we have people talking about these issues that's not about the NDP and that makes some kind of a splash in this country and maybe even articulates a different kind of vision for an economic message that's completely outside of this party system. That's my long moonshot, like completely delusional narcissist dream that I have, is that we put on some kind of conference where we're able to really talk about these issues completely outside of the NDP system and talk about this real anger that people are experiencing, like Pierre Poilievre is talking about, and talk about the ways he's going to fail to meet that, and try and provide a real outlet for this kind of anger, this kind of alienation that people are experiencing. The Rousseau Institute, that's it, Sinchal. And here's my promise to you, I will try to put on this event. Will it make an impact in our country or our culture? Probably not. Just to be totally clear. So no one thinks I'm that delusional. But I would really like to organize an event that forces the CBCs, the Global News, the CTVs, even right-wing media to say, hey, what are these wacky lefties talking about? Is this an NDP thing? Oh, no, it's not. What is this? Let's hear what these wackos are saying. And you can have some big splashy stuff, some controversial shit. This is where I'm going to unveil my Canada joining the Belt and Road Initiative plan. Hopefully it just makes enough people mad that they're forced to look at it. And then when people are forced to look at it, you might just be able to get a message through to people that speaks to this kind of alienation that people are experiencing. Petrov saying how extraordinary plumbers are for harnessing the power of Poseidon. Fuck. Oh. Man. How embarrassing that is. I better go, folks. This has been a fantastic conversation, though. I'm sorry that it's not long enough. As I said, I am going to really, really, really aim to ensure that this show is 4 hours minimum going forward, which will, again, give me the time and us the time to talk about everything that needs to be talked about, and will also allow me to hit the targets that I need to hit, which is just always going to be harder when it's like 2.5 hours like today. And tomorrow I got to bring my kid to the dentist at 3, so it's going to be another short one tomorrow. But this is my plan, is to start a little bit earlier and to make sure that moving forward the show is at least 4 hours, and I'm going to aim for between 4, 5, 6 hours per episode. Okay? Anyway, I really appreciate all the support today. As I told you, it was a shorter span of time. If anyone else does want to subscribe, there is still a moment to do so. You still have about 5 minutes to do so. Again, I'm trying not to, I don't expect too much. It's a shorter stream. I understand that on these short time frames, it's difficult to get to where we need to get, but I'm simply saying that if you do want to subscribe, there is still about 5 minutes to do so. I took inspiration from you, and my community is going to Pyongyang with me in Flight Sim. That sounds great. And that's the next phase. We're going to do the Rousseau Institute political conference, and then eventually there's going to be a Rousseau Institute friendship delegation to Pyongyang DPRK. Sorry. I'm going to raid our friend Bloodberry Tart. I really enjoy the content here on Twitch of Bloodberry Tart. And I hope you do too. 1 minute left for anyone that wants to subscribe. 1 minute left in case anyone wants to. Thanks for watching. I guess we'll have to get to that like patriotic socialist Jackson Hinkle Timcast thing tomorrow. I will try to get an earlier start tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big day. I gotta get up super early. I gotta fucking bring my kid to the dentist at the end of the day. I'm gonna be hustling and bustling tomorrow. We're gonna see how it goes for the stream. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by, Hildebeest. Hinkle and Poole, they're not in cahoots, but Hinkle appeared on Tim Poole's show, and I wanted to take a look at some of the highlights of it so we can debunk some of these patriotic socialist arguments. Thank you, folks. Thanks for watching today. I appreciate you, and I really appreciate all the support today and every other day. And big thank you to Squatch Drew as well for the 10 gifted subs earlier. That was so fantastic, and I really appreciate it. Take care.